나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교. Okay, excuse me. Realization. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you for being here. I hope this finds you well and safe. In the previous video on learning, I thought I might call that learning and realization because I spoke about realization in it. But there's key components of realization that I didn't get to, and so I thought it was worth doing a video just on realization alone. I want to make sure that you understand clearly that the worlds of learning and realization separate themselves from the six lower worlds in a couple of ways. Number one, this perception is specifically targeted to students of Buddhism. But I want to point out that all of these worlds, these 3,000 realms in each thought moment of life, are occurring in non-Buddhists as well. And to my point, the six lower worlds, even animality and hunger and especially anger, which is targeted toward others and manipulative, are really innate conditions of samsara. We just do them. We don't give them a lot of thought. Now you would think, well, plotting manipulation requires thought, but not a whole lot. I mean, how does a lion catch its prey? How do prairie or cheetahs or hyenas, how do they track down and organize their group to track down a prey, right? Or mislead it in one way to capture it in another. It doesn't take very sophisticated consciousness to behave in those manners. But once we get into the four higher worlds with learning and realization, there is a concerted, conscious attempt to do something more than just exist, survive. There's a targeted expansion of self, a larger knowing, right? And realization is simply the experience of having learned something. Now, I'll give you an example. Learning and realization is going on all the time in modern people, and it's utilized for all sorts of accomplishments. But again, without the goal of bodhisattva and Buddhahood, the lowest common denominator prevails. And I'll show this to you in politics. The world is loaded with politicians today who have figured out through learning and realization that they can put a smile on their face, deliver bold-faced untruth lies to arouse popular sentiments and base instincts in order to put themselves in positions of power and greed and get whatever they want, while all the while saying to those who support them complete falsehoods. And they use the world of learning and realization, but as I've said many times, because all the worlds, all those life conditions, all those consciousnesses are always present. Their learning and realization is in service to their lower worlds. Animality, anger, hunger. That's what they're servicing with their learning and realization. That's our politicians today. It's disgusting. It's not what we want. It's not what we deserve. Some of us in those lower worlds do want that, right? Obviously, we have all kinds of violence going on in the world today because some people are in those lower worlds. Their base instincts are power, servitude, manipulation. They love it. They play along. What we deserve and what we would like to have are politicians that have a bodhisattva goal and mindset, so that they can use their learning and realization in service to bodhisattva efforts to make people's lives better, to improve conditions, to lessen violence, to move the world toward a rewarding, loving collective. Wow, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't those be amazing politicians? Where are they? Now, within Buddhism, realization and learning is about understanding what you and I are studying right now. How karma manifests. How karma manifests these different consciousnesses, these different life conditions, mental states. And karma that produces and supports hell is not karma we want to support. It's karma we want to quiet. Quiet down. But we don't want to quiet it down once it's shown its ugly face. We want to stop it at the root. And this is, again, I will repeat the words of Shakyamuni, cease the formations. This goes all the way back to Hinayana. Basic understanding of the formations of these life conditions and quell them before they form into actual conditions or tendencies that come out with conditions for them to flourish. And so learning is about being able to understand that process, and realization is about actually being conscious of it as a working condition of samsara. To not be influenced by it. That's realization in Buddhism. And why do we not want to be influenced by these 6 lower worlds? They'll remain there. It's a condition of samsara. But we want to quell them and not be influenced by them because we want our attention, our influence, our dedicated effort to go toward Buddhahood and our bodhisattva samsaric life. So realization then becomes kind of a fulcrum, right? Do you dip into 6 lower worlds and support that with your realization? Or do you quell those and wait the direction toward Buddhahood? So realization and its integrated pal learning are a tipping point in our attempt to awaken our Buddha nature, our bodhisattva life condition. Does that make sense? Right now, I can't think of any better example than the political state in the world today, our politicians. They're low humanity. Bodhisattva, ultimate humanity. Hunger, animality, anger, low humanity. Right? So as we learn how karma functions, how our lives are constructed of all these urges, these consciousnesses, and we realize this is where my attitude and intent is influenced, I can stop that. I can quell that. I can push that down. And I can use my fabulous mind of insight to support behavior that upholds humanity, that creates joy, that alleviates suffering, that is truthful, that is honest, not always perfect, but with an attitude and an intent that is perfection, that is compassionate. Let that be my filters for my attitude and my intent. Let me check my thoughts constantly against that measure. That's a whole different realization. It's the same tool of realization, of the mind's ability to realize, to make true, to actualize, because we've learned how to do it. We can actualize, realize our potential toward humanity, toward bodhisattva, toward Buddhahood. This takes effort. This is not automatic. This is not lizard brain. This is conscious intent, resolve, attitude. That realization is the Mahayana realization. Yes? Good. All right. This will be a short one, but I thought it was critical to get that aspect of realization to stand on its own. I don't think I did a good job of that, but to be fair, learning was specifically to be about learning, but it's hard to unglue the two, isn't it? So now we have a fuller picture of realization, and next we'll talk about bodhisattva and Buddhahood. All right? Thanks so much for your support. Thanks for listening. Download the podcast where you can. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to expand our Sangha with great appreciation, and support any way you can our contributors, both on Patreon and just through PayPal, whatever you're comfortable doing. greatly appreciated, not just by me, but our entire Sangha, because it continues to support the ability to make these podcasts and for us to share. And in that vein, please share. Use the comment section. Many of you do. Some of you just listen. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. I appreciate you guys just as much. But you'll help me to come up with content that will satiate your needs, hopefully, by letting me know in the comments or emailing me directly. If you don't want that public forum of comments, I understand that too. And some of you do both. Perfect. tlksylvain@gmail.com if you want to email me directly. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you soon.